Hello everyone, my name is Winters and welcome to Winters Budget Builds. Today we are going to cover the Fleet Dreadnought Cruiser Tier 6. In this episode we are going to start off with weapons, gear and equipment as per usual. Then we're going to move on to the skill tree. From there we will go on to traits and bridge officer abilities, and then the bridge officers themselves, and then the duty officers. Finally, we will finish up the episode by playing a patrol so that you guys can see the build in action and what it's like in combat. And before we finish up, we will give this ship a fun factor rating. So, it's a beautiful looking ship. I actually really like the look of this. It's just such a beautiful looking ship. This is the... like we said, the Tier 6 version of the Galaxy X, or Galaxy Dreadnought, which was in the TNG episode one-parter, All Good Things. It has the spinal lance. If we zoom in here, we can see this is the spinal lance here, which is pretty freaking sweet. And it has the famous 3 nacelle configuration as well, and it has cannons up here on the top, but we are not actually using cannons in this build. But I absolutely love the material. It is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful, and I actually much prefer this to the Galaxy X, the Tier 5 version, or the on-screen version. I much rather this material. Right, so let's get stuck in and start talking about the build. So up front, first of all, we have the Quantum Phase Beam Array. This is being used in conjunction with the Quantum Phase Converter. We'll talk about the set bonus when we get down as far as the consoles. This comes from the story mission Sunrise, is where you can get that. You can see it's upgraded to Mark 15 and it's currently ultra rare. Quality doesn't make a whole lot of difference, so whether it's epic or very rare, whatever, it's fine. Next up, we have the Prolonged Engagement Phaser Beam Array. This is being used in conjunction with the Prolonged Engagement Power Dynamo, so another 2-piece set bonus we're getting there. This comes from the Phoenix Prize Pack, and if memory serves, you need a very rare token to pick up this weapon if you don't already own it or have it unlocked from when it was given out during an event. Next up, we have the Terran Task Force Phaser Beam Array. This comes from the Terran reputation. You need to get the Terran rep up to Tier 6 in order to unlock the Phaser flavor, because normally Terran weapons are disruptor, but when you get to Tier 6 you unlock a phaser flavor. This is being used in conjunction with nothing, actually. Yeah, it's nothing. The Terran console doesn't really buff anything for us, so we didn't bother using the 2-piece set bonus there with that. Then in our last slot up front, we have an Advanced Phaser Beam Array. This comes from the Fleet. You need Tier 2 Engineering in order to be able to purchase Advanced Fleet Phaser Beam Arrays, or any beam arrays for that matter. They come at Tier 2 Engineering. Next up, we will move on to the Deflector. We're using the Iconian Resistance Deflector Array, Mark 15, ultra rare. We're using this in conjunction with the Iconium Resistance Hyper Injection Warp Core Mark 15, also ultra rare, giving us the AMP modifier. For those of you who don't know what the AMP modifier is, if you look down here, alright, I'm going to mouse over the Warp Core again, but it's down around here, you will see it says plus 3.3% all damage per subsystem with 75 or more power. So what that means is for each one of these subsystems, you have weapons, shields, engines, and auxiliary. And there's little check marks here, 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 and here. When it reaches that level, which is 75 or higher, you get 3.3% for each one of those. So that's 13.2% bonus damage just for having your power levels right. Pretty significant. And that's what the amp modifier does. It's really, really good. This warp core also gives plus or a 50% reduced cooldown on transwarp. It has a hot restart, automatically removes weapon disable conditions, can occur up to once per 60 seconds, which is brilliant, and adds 7.5% of your engine power to your shield power as bonus power. Yeah, so a really good warp core. Moving on, impulse engines. We're using the Bajor defense. The Iconian stuff comes from Iconian Rep. Yeah, just to point that out in case you didn't know. That's where they came from. Actually, before I forget, the reason why we're using the 2-piece bonus is, well, apart from just being really good items. Also, the 2-piece set bonus gives you a bonus free shield heal once every, I want to say once every 60 seconds. Let's have a look at that. It might be 90 seconds. Distribute shields. Goes on once every 30 seconds. Okay, so just to demonstrate this, all you have to do is simply click on the icon down here of your ship, and you will see an aura come around the ship, and that's actually a shield heal. Now, as I'm sure most of you know, when you click here, it automatically redistributes your shield strength. So if this shield was fully depleted or half depleted, and I click here, it'll pull shield power from the 3 other facings and start building up the shield power here. But anyway, on top of that, when you click it, you get this aura, and this is a shield heal, and it's a really good shield heal, and believe me, it has saved me so many times. It has got me out of a jam, and it's really good. I love it. It's a good 2-piece to go for. Okay, now we can move on to the impulse engines. Impulse engines, we're using the Bajor Defense Hyper Impulse Engines, Mark 15, very rare. These come from the story mission Scylla and Charybdis. That's where the engines come from, and we're using it in conjunction with the Bajor Defense Covariant Shield Array, Mark 15, very rare. Also comes from the story mission Scylla and Charybdis. Now, the reason why we're using this 2-piece set bonus is because of the boost that we get to phaser damage. You can see there, plus 19% phaser damage and disruptor damage and plasma damage. So basically, if you're using phaser, disruptor, or plasma, and it doesn't matter which one you're using, but you know, all your weapons are either phaser, disruptor, or plasma. That's a huge buff to get just for using the 2-piece set bonus. It's too big to pass up, so it's fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. Right, moving on to the aft weapons. In our first slot here, we have the Advanced Inhibiting Phaser Omnidirectional Beam Array, Mark 15, and is currently epic level, which is max level. This comes from, I want to say Gamma Rep. I'm just looking at my notes here. Yes, Gamma Rep. And we're using it in conjunction with the Ordnance Accelerator, which also comes from Gamma Rep. And we're using it for the 2-piece set bonus, which we're going to get to in just a minute. Our next weapon is the Kinetic Cutting Beam, Mark 15, very rare. I just realized, I must have bought that. Never mind, anyway. Yes, we're using this in conjunction with the Assimilated module, again for the 2-piece set bonus. This is a great item to have on nearly any build, in particular for your endeavors. So I'm sure most of you are aware there is an endeavor that comes up every now and then, and it wants you to deal kinetic damage. This bad boy, when you get into the thick of things, will soon start racking up kinetic damage for you, and it's a beam, so it's always on. It has a firing cycle, but it's not a torpedo that just comes in and hits and that's it. It's done until you fire the next torpedo. Granted, torpedoes can hit pretty hard if the shields are down, but I like this. The 2p set bonus is really good as well. Anyone who's familiar with my channel and this series knows that like nearly every build has the kinetic cutting beam and the assimilated module. Next up, we have Omnidirectional Phaser Beam Array, which comes from crafting. You need level 15 in the beam school to be able to craft omnidirectional beam arrays, and you need a beam R&D officer to do that. I've just realized I never priced these on the exchange. They wouldn't be that expensive. A few million. Say 5 million energy credits to pick up a Mark 12 phaser omnidirectional beam array off the exchange. Rough ballpark there. And finally, weapons. We're using another advanced fleet phaser beam array, Mark 15 ultra rare. Now, before we go on any further, in case some people are wondering, why aren't we using the trilithium enhanced omnidirectional phaser beam array? Basically, it was either this or this one. All right, the inhibiting phaser omnidirectional beam array. If I try and slot this in over the crafting one, it won't let me. If I try slotting it over the beam array, it won't let me. If I try slotting it over the kinetic, it won't let me. And if I try slotting here, you can see it's one or the other. All right. And in my opinion, the 2p set bonus from this beam array is too good to pass up. Simple as that. Right, we'll talk about set bonuses in just a minute. In terms of devices, we have a red matter capacitor, which you can get from the Phoenix prize pack with I want to say a very rare token. We have the subspace field modulator, which comes from the mission, I want to say Skirmish. Sorry, I'm going off memory here. Skirmish. Just check and see.
We have reports of a true wave fleet entering the neutral zone.
Skirmish. That's where you get that. Then we have the Beacon of Kalis, which I believe is actually in Mud's Market now at the moment, but was an event item. So it's an account unlock for me and for many players. It's basically a distress call. That's what it is. And then we have Temporal Negotiator, which is a bridge officer power recharge by 50%. It's there because I have nothing else to put in there, to be honest with you. And actually, we haven't come to it yet, but this is an Oxtabat build, which kind of makes this thing a little bit pointless. But it's there anyway, so yeah, whatever. Right, in terms of consoles, first up, we have a Plasmonic Leech. This is a favorite of mine. I love the Plasmonic Leech. The theory that I have is without power, you can't do anything. Without weapons power, you can't fire weapons. Without shield power, you have no shields. Without engine power, you don't move. Without auxiliary power, you have no secondary systems. And this steals power from your currently selected target that you're firing upon and gives it to you as bonus power. And while in combat, you will actually see your power levels will increase. They will go up while in combat, and that's because of the Plasmonic Leech, and I love it. It's just absolutely fantastic. I have it on nearly every build. Next up we have, the Plasmonic Leech, currently going for about 4 million on the exchange. 4 million energy credits on the exchange. If you're a KDF player and you have the Vandal Destroyer unlocked, you can claim Plasmonic Leeches for free by claiming that ship. Right, now we'll move on to the Hydrodynamics Compensator Mark 15 Ultra Rare. We're using this for a couple of small little reasons. Basically, I couldn't think of anything better to put in. It gives 3 engine power, plus 3 auxiliary power, plus 21.6 weapon accuracy, and plus 28.9% flight turn rate. And we're in a Dreadnought cruiser, and turn rate, anything that boosts turn rate is fantastic. Sure, I could have gone with an RCS accelerator, but then I'd be lacking the weapon accuracy and the power buffs. and I'm using this in conjunction with other things that we'll talk about, which also improve turn rate. So I was like, right, okay, let's benefit from the most amount of things as possible. Right, next up, we have the Ordnance Accelerator, which we are using in conjunction with... no, that's the Dynamo. The No, no, it's not. Oh, wait, here it is. This is it, isn't it? Yes. Right. We're using this in conjunction with the Inhibiting Phaser Omnidirectional Beam Array. This gives plus 25% phaser directed energy weapon damage. Again, a huge buff. Absolutely massive. Sure, it gives polar on, it gives projectile, but we're not using them, but we're using phaser. And it's too good to pass up. Now, the 2-piece set bonus for this is plus 10% phaser weapon damage. Another 10% just for using this omnidirectional beam array and this console. Too good to pass up on a phaser build. Next up, the Ordnance Accelerator comes from Gamma Reputation, just in case I didn't say that, and the Hydrodynamics Compensator comes from 8472 Rep. I did forget to say that. Right, next up, Assimilated Module comes from Omega Reputation. We are using it in conjunction with the Borg Kinetic Cutting Beam. The 2-piece set bonus is 2.5% chance when firing energy weapons to gain Omega Weapon Amplifier for 5 seconds. Omega Weapon Amplifier is plus 10 to weapons power, plus 500 weapon power drain resistance, and minus 500% weapon power cost. So basically, for a single firing cycle, you do not drain any power whatsoever, and you get a power buff to your weapon's power setting. And the more power you have in weapons, the more damage your weapons do. So for a single firing cycle, you fire at full potential, which is fantastic. And I also mentioned the other reason of the Endeavor that wants you to rack up kinetic damage. The Borg Kinetic Cutting Beam does that for you, so it's a great one to have on any build, because then you can complete the Endeavor just through normal gameplay. Do some TFOs. You'll be racking up kinetic damage, and there it is, it's working for you. Next up, we have the Quantum Phase Converter Mark 15, very rare. This console gives plus 23.8% phaser damage. It also gives 3.6 auxiliary power setting, plus 35.6 Starship Drain expertise, and a hot restart automatically removes auxiliary power disabled conditions, can occur once up to 60 seconds. This is being used in conjunction with the Quantum Phase Beam Array, and also comes from the story mission Sunrise. The 2-piece set bonus that we're getting for this is plus 15 accuracy rating, double potency of quantum phase weapon shield drain, double potency of quantum phase high yield torpedo shield heal. We're not using the second part of that at all. But this weapon here, this is the one here. So 2.5% chance to drain 10,396.7 from enemy shields to restore your shields. Okay, and that's what that does. And this is an accuracy rating and doubles the potency of quantum phase weapon shield drain. So I actually don't know if that number is already doubled or if it's actually 20,700 and whatever. That I don't know, but it's good. And what's wrong with having extra accuracy, The main reason we're using this console is because of that phaser damage buff. That is hands down, just that on its own. Everything else is just gravy, okay? And it comes from Sunrise, which I already mentioned. Next up, we have the Prolonged Engagement Power Dynamo. This gives every 5 seconds in combat, gain 1 stack of Power Dynamo. Power Dynamo is +1 all power levels with a maximum of plus 10. So after 50 seconds, you're getting 40 plus 40 to your power levels on all 4 subsystems. Huge, absolutely huge. And we're using this in conjunction with the Phaser Beam Array, which comes from the Phoenix Prize Pack with a very rare token. The 2-piece set bonus for this is plus 7.5% recharge time on all bridge officer abilities. This is an Oxtabat build, which we'll talk about a little later on. But it can't hurt, you know, having an extra reduced cooldown on bridge officer abilities. So it's, you know, it's not hurting. It's good. We're doing Oxtabat anyway, so here's a little bit extra to help. Next up, we have the 0-point energy conduit, which comes from Romulan reputation, and gives plus 2.3 power to all subsystems. It also gives 24.6 Starship Traits expertise and 2.3% critical chance. Okay, so a really nice console to have there. Finally, tactical consoles. No big surprise here. We're using vulnerability locators, Mark 15 ultra rare, phaser variant. And we're getting plus 37.5% phaser damage and plus 1.9% critical chance with each one of these consoles. Now, the reason why you go with critical chance consoles or vulnerability locators instead of crit severity consoles or vulnerability exploiters is because a single crit D modifier, if we look here, alright, so down around here, okay, if you notice, we have 2 crit D modifiers. You can see them up here, alright, so look here first and then down here, alright. We have 2 crit D modifiers on this weapon. I haven't modded this, any of this stuff yet, but this is just how it came. We have 2 crit D modifiers, and if you look down, you can see we have plus 40% crit severity. A single crit D modifier is at 20% buff to crit severity. If you went with the exploiter consoles instead of the locator consoles, the exploiters only give like 8.9% crit severity bonus. So you may as well jack up your crit chance with your TAC consoles and mod your weapons for crit D, and you get a much bigger bang for your buck by getting crit D modifiers on your weapons. So I hope I didn't lose anybody there with that. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Finally, in terms of gear, we are using the Elite Fleet Pets Yellowstone Runabouts. They're good pets. They use phaser arrays, chronoton torpedoes. They have tractor beam 3 and eject tetrion warp plasma. They're just a fairly decent pet, to be honest. You know, like they can tractor an enemy vessel, stop it in its tracks, and then that vessel isn't getting any bonus defense. And basically it makes it easier for you to knock it out and kill it. Simple as that, really. And the eject tetrion warp plasma is basically the same, because if they fly through the warp plasma, it clogs up their engines and they slow down, and hence they lose bonus defense, and they're easier to kill as well. And it probably, I'm pretty sure it gives a dot to the target as well, which is a damage over time. Right, so that's weapons, gear, and equipment. Next up, we are going to talk about traits. Okay, so traits. We are using Superior Accurate, upgraded at the K13 fleet holding, gives plus 15 accuracy rating. We are using Superior Beam Training, which is plus 7.5% bonus beam weapon damage, again upgraded at the K13 fleet holding. We are using Bulkhead Technician, which is plus 10% maximum hull hit points. We're using Superior Elusive, which is plus 15 defense rating for 601 seconds. Again, upgraded at the K-13 fleet holding. We're using Innocuous, which is plus 5% crit severity and minus 25% threat generation. We are also using Last Ditched Effort, which is plus 40 all damage resistance rating while go down fighting is active. Then we have Operative, which is plus 1% critical chance, plus 2% crit severity. Then we have Advanced Rapid Support, which is reduce the recharge time of your career-specific, example, Tactical Fleet ability by 67%, so you can use Tactical Fleet a little bit more often. And finally, for personal space traits, we are using Superior Techie, which is plus 30 Starship Hull Restoration and plus 30 Starship Damage Control. That is once again upgraded at the K-13 fleet holding. Moving on to Starship Traits, we are using Desperate Repairs, which comes from the Tier 6 Guardian Cruiser. A good trait to have, large shield and hull heal after 3 incoming criticals. I love it. Again, this trait has saved me in a firefight so many times. It is absolutely fantastic and just a real favourite of mine. Next we have Improved Temporal Insight, which comes from Delta Recruit. If you are around for the Delta Recruitment event or any of the reruns, you can pick up this trait for your entire account, and it gives temporal immunity from hull heals, so you become immune to damage after doing a hull heal, which is really good. Then we have Superior Pedal to the Metal, which comes from spending 30 points in the Pilot Specialization tree, which we'll move on to here in a few minutes. Increased damage from full throttle, basically. Next up we have Subworth Sheath, which is higher speed, grants armor penetration, and Subworth Sheath comes from the Icarus Pilot Escort. A pretty good trait. So with this ship I would be flying at full throttle all the time, or most of the time pretty much, and I'd be orbiting my target and doing a broadside. I know I've got omnidirectionals in the back, but I'd typically be doing broadsides, and I'm getting increased armor penetration from remaining at full speed while in combat, so a good one. Finally then, and this, I know I'm going to get flack over this, Overpowered and Overgunned, which comes from the legendary pilot warship, which is basically the legendary Defiant. And activating beam or cannon weapon firing modes improves weapon haste, duration, increase with global critical strike chance. This is a really, really good trait, and I said I'd put it on here, but look here's the thing, alright? Even if you don't have any of these traits, work with what you do have. So for example, let's say you finish the pilot specialization, then you can get Superior Pedal to the Metal. If you've got half or finished the intelligence specialization, then you can use predictive algorithms or improve predictive algorithms. If you've got this one comes from Commando, improved demolitions teams, use that. Use what you've got. If you want to go into these traits, then you can, but basically go with what you've got. Space reputation traits. We are using Advanced Targeting Systems rank 2, which comes from Dyson Rep. We are also using Destabilizing Phase Array rank 2, which comes from Myconian Rep. We are using Enhanced Armor Penetration rank 2, which comes from Delta Rep. We are using Enhanced Shield Penetration rank 2, which comes from Nukara Rep. And we are also using Magnified Firepower rank 2, which comes from Gamma Rep. All of those traits are tier 6 traits in the various reputations. and really, really good ones to use. Finally, in terms of traits, we have the Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity rank 2, which is a shrinking area of effect, damage hazard, slows and holds foes. Then we have Biomolecular Shield Generator, which is a shield heal. We have Deploy Sensor Interference Platform rank 2, which is like a decoy. Then we have Quantum Singularity Manipulation rank 2, which is a free cloak for a couple of seconds. And then we have Refracting Tetryon Cascade rank 2, which is just a Tetryon burst that chains off enemies. Yeah, so there's the various traits that we're using. Right, let's move on to skill tree actually. Skill tree isn't too. I was going to say out there, but it's not out there at all. It's pretty standard, to be honest. So look, you probably know this already. You really want to spec into the tactical stuff if you expect to do damage. Okay. And science and engineering then are like healing and auxiliary stuff. So for example, here we have hull capacity, 2 points, shield capacity, 2 points. We have energy weapon training, 3 points. EPS flow, we have 2 points. Improved drain expertise, we have 2 points. This helps the plasmonic leech. Targeting expertise, we have 2 points. Defensive maneuvering, we have 2 points. Hull plating, we have 2 points. Damage control, we have 1 point. Shield hardness, we have 3 points. So you can see, the defensive side. Weapon amplification, we have 3 points. Weapon specialization, we have 3 points. Shield penetration, we have 3 points. Hull plating, we have 3 points. And targeting sensors, we have 3 points. And subsystem tuning and subsystem performance, we have 3. And the same here on the engineering. Basically, these are all power buffs. And then we have 2 points in improved warp core warp core potential. We have 2 points. And what's a little different about this one is that we have coordination protocols and defensive coordination. We could also go offensive coordination, but I decided against it. To be honest, actually, I can't remember why now. But these are used for your pets. And we do have pets on this build, so I was like, all right, let's put 2 points in there and help pets survivability and well, basically survivability. As you can see here, this is defense rating, and this is capacity, hull and shield. Right, that's the skill tree. Let's move on to bridge officers. So in our universal seat, we are using a Chemosite Lace Weaponry 1. In our Lieutenant Commander Tactical, we are using Tac Team 1, Attack Pattern Beta 1, and Beam Fire at Will 3. If you prefer, you can change the Beam Fire at Will 3 to a Beam Overload 3 if you like. I just have it as Beam Fire at Will 3, and I can switch it around if I need to. In our Commander Engineering, we have Engineering Team 1, we have Ox to Bat 1, Reverse Shield Polarity 2, and Directed Energy Modulation 3, or DEM 3. In our Lieutenant Commander Engineer / Command, we have Emergency Power to Shields 1. We have another Auxiliary to Emergency Battery 1, or Ox to Bat. And then we have Call Emergency Artillery, which is a Command Officer ability. Now, the reason why I used this ability was, to be honest, it was one of the only ones that I could find that didn't interfere with, like, let's say Beam Overload or Beam Fire at Will. Sometimes they can clash with global cooldowns, and this one just didn't. So that's why I went with that. It was something different. It didn't clash with anything, so I was like, right, some a little bit of flavor into the build. In our Lieutenant Science, we have Transfer Shield Strength 1 and Hazard Emitters 2. Transfer Shield Strength being a shield heal and Hazard Emitters being a hull heal. So we have 2 shield heals and we have 2 hull heals. Now, Directed Energy Modulation gives plus 10% energy weapon shield penetration for 30 seconds and plus 10 weapon armor penetration for 30 seconds. So really, really good there. Reverse shield polarity. When taking energy damage to any shield facing, heal 69.14% of that damage to that shield facing for 16 seconds. It's kind of like an oh crap button. So when you're in the thick of it, you're losing health, you can actually recharge your shields if you use this in conjunction with Tac Team 1. It'll completely redistribute shield strength and charge all of your shields up, which is a great little trick. Now, Ox to Bat. We're going to talk about Ox to Bat here for a little bit. Here they are, alright? These are my 2 Ox to Bat powers. Now, if I click off... so these are Captain abilities because I'm attack. And these are Bridge Officer abilities, okay? These abilities come from my Bridge Officers. These come from Bridge Officers as well. But let's just say I kick off each of these. And you'll see here, each one of them has a 30-second cooldown. Okay? See? All 30 seconds, they're counting down from 30 seconds. But if I hit any of the Ox to Bat powers, you'll see these. See them reduced by 10 seconds? They were at 20 and they went down to 10. And this is what Ox to Bat does. It reduces the cooldown time of your Bridge Officer abilities. Not Captain abilities, Bridge Officer abilities. Okay? And Ox to Bat is a really great build to go with when you have a shortage of tactical Bridge Officer seats. So, for example... here, we only have a Lieutenant Commander and an Ensign seat, and I can't really do an awful lot with that. I need Attack Team 1, I need an attack pattern, and I need a weapon buff. In this case, Beamfire Will. This is actually a weapon buff as well, but it's a different type of weapon buff. So, Ox to Bat essentially doubles the amount of Bridge Officer abilities that you've got. By letting you use the same Bridge Officer abilities twice as often. It reduces the cooldown time of those abilities. Now, the other thing that Ox to Bat does is every time you hit Ox to Bat, alright, what it means is auxiliary power, okay, to all other systems. So what's going to happen here now? When I hit any of the Ox to Bats, my auxiliary power is going to drop down to nothing. And my weapons, shields, and engines are going to buff up. Because it takes power from auxiliary and it dumps it into the other 3 subsystems. So watch here when I press... See? They all jumped up. Now if I was in combat, they'd actually be even higher. Because... oh, there's somebody from the Priority 1 fleet. Who is that? Ah, Victoria. Yeah, if I was in combat, these power levels would be even higher because of my Plasmonic Leech and the prolonged power Dynamo. They'd be even higher, so the buffs would be even bigger. Yeah, so that's how Ox to Bat works. Or, right, so that's what... Ox to Bat, what it does is it takes power from auxiliary, dumps it in the other 3 subsystems. Now, here's the next part. In order to get the Bridge Officer cooldown reduction, you need to have technicians on your active space roster. In this case, you can see I have 3 copies of 10 of 10. Okay? And you can see here it says... Recharge of Bridge Officer abilities reduced after auxiliary to battery. Okay, and if I check more details here, Bridge Officer power recharge reduced by 10% after activating auxiliary power to emergency battery. stacked with 3 of them is a 30% reduction. And that's how you get the bridge officer reduction. Now, you can purchase these off the exchange if you want. I honestly don't know what they're going for at the moment. Not 10 of 10, but technicians that have this ability. But how I got these guys is from completing the assignment chain in the Bertrand cluster here. Alright, which is in the top right hand, this is the beta quadrant, top right hand corner of the beta quadrant. If you go here, there is a 7-part assignment chain. It'll take you about a week to complete because sometimes the missions aren't there, so you need to be checking it fairly regularly. And when you have the 7-part assignment chain complete, it unlocks a brand new repeatable mission that crops up like once every 8 hours or something. And if you crit on the mission, you get a free purple technician. And you can do that mission as many times as you like. So for me, I done it 3 times. Well, actually, I probably done it a hell of a lot more because I didn't crit all my first 3 attempts. But the point is, I could keep on farming that mission over and over again and end up with 75 purple technicians if I wanted. So that's how you can get free purple technicians for your Oxtabat build. Okay? Now, while we're on duty officers, next up we have Shield Distribution Officer. Attack pattern beta restores hull when firing. This comes from the Delta Quadrant Duty Officer pack, is where you can get this guy. Really, really good duty officer to have. Very defensive, as you probably have guessed. Then we have Warfare Master, space damage increase versus all. This duty officer comes from Gamma recruitment event. If you're around for that, or if a replay is coming up, you can earn this guy. Really, really good. And finally then we have an Astrometric Scientist, which reduces the recharge time on all transwarp abilities, and he's like a standard for me because I use my transwarp very, very often, and with him equipped, you can use your transwarp like once every 3 minutes as opposed to once every 15 minutes, so it's really good. Right, they're duty officers. I don't think there's anything else. I think that's the entire build. Yeah. I completely forgot. Specializations. We are using the pilot specialization. It is a favorite of mine. I really love the pilot specialization. Some people might go for command, but I'm not using any torpedoes on it, and there's a lot of look at these here. See, they're like armor penetration and exposing targets with torpedoes and stuff, and I'm just not utilizing any of that stuff, so I decided to go with pilot. And plus, using the pilot specialization, I'm getting a plus 40% turn rate for having this selected as my primary. So remember earlier on I was saying with the Hydrodynamics compensator, I'm using that in conjunction with some other stuff. This is one of the other things that's helping my turn rate. For our secondary then, we are using Strategist. Again, another favorite of mine. Having it maxed out gives a plus 10% to shield capacity. It's just a good all-rounder secondary specialization to use. Right. Now, I think that's it. So, next up, we are going to... Oh, yeah, here's the other thing. Who doesn't love pilot specialization, okay? And rock and roll. I mean, isn't that just so cool in a Galaxy Dread? Oh, yeah. Right, we are going to do a patrol. We're going to go down to our favorite, which is Sentinels. And we're going to see this bad boy in action. All right.
We're in luck.
Okay, let's get some pets deployed. Now, this ship actually comes with a built-in lance as well. You can see it down here. This is it. It has a 45-degree firing arc, 2.5% chance to disable one subsystem for 5 seconds. It's kind of like it's not a shotgun. It's it's a slug. All right, that's what it is. It's just a big bang at a target. And it's nice because it's not part of a console. It's just inherently built into the ship, which I really like. Okay, so let's start buffing up, and we're going to start taking these guys out. See, and that's how we do that. And notice my power levels. Look, the first 3 are all max level. And that's because of the power dynamo and the plasmonic leech. So yeah, alright, anyway, we're going to keep on going. Do I have anything else to say about this build? I suppose, actually, fun factor rating. So I think I would give this ship a fun factor rating of 7. Why it's not higher is it's a dread. It's a big. I mean, like, look, I've got the 40% bonus from pilot, and I've got the hydrodynamics compensator, and you know, turn rate isn't bad, but you know, it's no escort, and I like fast, nimble ships. But it can pack a punch. It really can pack a punch. I mean, look, we cleared through that fairly easy, you know. All of these groups we've cleared through fairly easy. Actually, let's kick this up a little bit here. So yeah, I'd say about a 7. I'd give this. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little bit too critical, and I love that when you start seeing ships going pop in the first firing cycle. The other bonus with this is it has a hangar bay. Sure, it'd be great if it had 2 hangar bays. Maybe that's something that's affecting my opinion. Although I do understand that, you know, it'd be kind of ridiculous for it to have 2 hangar bays, because it is a dread, you know, it's a big fat tank of a thing, you know, and 1 hangar bay is probably more than enough. But if it had 2, you kind of think, you know, a big ship like this should be able to have 2 hangar bays. Alright, let's start buffing up here. Let's see some of these starting to go pop. Yep. Just like that.
Another launching fleet. We're going after satellite Delta.
So you can see we can cut through enemies fairly good, yeah. And you can have a lot of fun with this build for sure. But yeah, I'm gonna stick. Oh no, I shouldn't have done it. Phew, I didn't. I'm gonna save my lance for the big boy at the end.
Getting readings from satellite Gamma. Looks like an Alachi flagship.
But you know, I know for a fact there are players out there and they love this type of ship. You know, like for them it'd be a 10 out of 10. You know, and it's because they like, you know, the big fat slow moving, can take a beating, and throw out damage all day long, and live to tell the tale. There's, see it? Ah, that was cool. So yeah, you know, take my fun factor rating as whatever way you want. For me, it's a 7. But what am I actually going to pick here? I'm going to pick Nukara, because I'm kind of low on Nukara. Right, and we should be warping out of here
Getting
now.
lots of good data. The Alachi, the
Depart system. Yeah, so that's the end of this episode. Thanks a million for watching, folks. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. There is a link to this build in the description below, as well as per normal. If you have any requests for builds, leave a comment below and leave the name of the ship that you would like me to do a build video on, and I will endeavor to do that for you. And thanks a million again for watching this video, and if you can, please leave a like. It really, really helped me out. Every single interaction I can get on my channel and on my videos really, really helps me. So I appreciate all the thumbs up that you guys can give me, and if you leave comments, that that really, really helps too. And I very much appreciate all of your support. Anyway, my name is Winters, and I'll see you next time. So until then, adios.